1045 The Team, 1045theteam.com. So, Zach, last week, again, this continues to be a big story for us, and you and I love it. So, last week we had to talk about the $2 million basketball tournament. Which 5 players from the Capital Region would we want to send out to play in that tournament to try to win that money? The conversation took a whole different turn and also went to, well, who were the 5 best players ever to come out of the Capital Region, even if you wouldn't play with them today. Well, one of the guys on your list we had on earlier in the week, last week, Rayshawn Freeman from Schenectady. We had another guy on your top 5, Bishop Maginn graduate, Talor Battle, Penn State standout. Talor is with us in studio today. Talor, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, first off, how do you feel about being included in Zach's top 5 list here of guys that he would play with in his basketball tournament here today?
Obviously I feel honored. There's been a lot of good players from the Capital Region. For him to have me on the list, I know, because a lot of people have their own opinions off of it, but, I'm just, like I said, I'm just fortunate that he sees me as that kind of a player. I've played with him before, and, everyone has their opinion, so I'm just happy to be on his team.
So Talor won a state championship at Bishop. Again, I got to get it out here now because he won't remember it, but Zach's been making fun of me for days on this. So it was 2006. It was your junior year, my sophomore year. We were playing at the Washington Avenue Armory. I played for Shen. You played for Maginn. You scored 27 on us. I guarded you for 2 possessions, and you went 2 for 2 from the floor, and then I was no longer guarding you. And Zach's been making fun of me about that.
Put about 30 on Shen. Put about 30 on Shen.
Shen then was not what Shen is now. I started out guarding Jelon Talor that day. I remember that.
He's not a good player.
He was a very good player.
Yeah.
And so Coach Satigas puts me on Talor to start the second half, and I said, all right, he's pretty quick. I'm not going to let him go by me. He pulls up for 3 in transition. Next play, I'm like, all right, he's not going to do that again. Pump fake, goes to the hoop for a dunk, and then I was back on the bench, and that was that.
Have a seat, Brady Farkas.
There's my Talor Battle experience and story right there.
Hey, when you look back, you're a 5'8" guy. You went on to play at Penn State. I've championed this fact about you that you're the first player in Big Ten history, and those who don't know, Big Ten's the oldest conference in college basketball. You're the first player in Big Ten history to go for 2,000 points, 500 rebounds, 500 assists. When you look back at the entire of your career, and you're still playing overseas, what are you most proud of, if you have to pick one thing?
It's funny you mentioned that because I think 2 weeks ago I went down and visited Penn State for the first time, in about 4 or 5 years. And they just kind of toured me around the facility, and they put up a bunch of stuff. And, being away, it was the first time I kind of reflected on my career and what I did at Penn State. And I sat and I spoke to the guys on the team. The coach asked me to speak to the guys, and I spoke to them. And I said, more than anything, all the individual statistics, the points, the rebounds, the assists, those are all cool. But my senior year, when we made the NCAA tournament, after the school hadn't made it in 10 years, was the biggest thing in my career by far. Because I'm a team guy, regardless of the individual statistics that I have. My primary focus is to win. That's all I care about is winning. We won the NIT in 2009, but just to make to the tournament, that was by far my greatest moment in college. So, there's nothing even close to that.
Going back to the conversation that we just had, and first of all, just to touch on what you said, one of the conversations or a piece in the conversation I've always said, and I've been on the floor with you, Empire State Games Scholastic. Remember that team?
Yep.
Empire State Games Open. You've always made the right basketball play when it mattered. And that's something I've always championed about you as well. But going back to the conversation that Brady and I had a week ago, the top 5 conversation, it's always just a fun one to have because in this area, we have so many options. Like if we were from like a WAC basketball area, it would be easy. But we're from a very a rich basketball history and tradition, so it's hard. And it's an opinion-based thing. When you think of your favorite 5 to ever come out of this area, who are the names that you think of?
Well, obviously excluding myself.
Excluding yourself, because you would have yourself on the list.
Yeah, I would have myself on the list.
But,
no disrespect to anyone else, but I have myself on the list.
Yeah, take yourself out of it.
But like you said, it's such an opinionated question or answer that, there's a lot of great players, so there's really no wrong answer, in my opinion. But if I had to pick my 5, based on guys I played with, played against, seen play, it would be Mark Lyons, Jimmer Fredette, Willie Dean, led the Big Ten in scoring. I never did that. I was second twice.
Who led it that year? Evan Turner?
Evan Turner led it 1 year.
Ohio State.
That's one of my best friends. Every day, he'll always bring that up regardless. No matter what we're doing, we could be just a regular night out hanging out, and he'll make sure he tells someone that I was second, he was first. So that's three.
So you got Mark Lyons from Schenectady, who played at Xavier, then Arizona. Willie Dean, who led the Big Ten in scoring, started off at Boston College, then ended up at Purdue. Who was your third?
Jimmer Fredette,
National Player of the Year.
Then I got to go with James Thomas.
Yep.
Everything he's did.
From Schenectady, played at Texas, all-time leading rebounder when he graduated.
Absolutely. And then I got to go with my last one, Rayshawn Freeman. Maybe I'll probably get beat over my head for not saying Lionel Chalmers, but that's my five. I really never seen Lionel play outside of college. The rest of the guys I've seen in person. So that's my five, and that's what it is.
I love it. I love it.
So, Zach, yes, you got some validation on yours. I have two questions here. I'm going to hit them back to back. You and Jimmer were on the same AAU team with the City Rocks, right? And the question was... Mark Lyons also. Yep. And you and Jimmer graduated from the Section 2 the same year. So the question was always, who's better, Talor Battle or Jimmer Fredette? Did that ever get tiresome for you, or was it fun to be part of that debate?
No, it was fun. Me and Jimmer, we still talk to this day. And I'm in college when he was doing great things. It was... I was right there being supportive with him. And, his run came later. It was his junior year when he really exploded. And my sophomore year, I had been first team, all Big Ten, and I had made the USA team, under 21 team that year. So I kind of was ahead of him at the time. And then, that junior year, he broke out on the scene, and everyone was just shocked. But, at me, I'm just like, I've seen this guy shoot 40-footers, since we were little kids. And I remember a game when me and him played against each other. He had 51 and I had like 43, and I had a game-winning shot. He spoke at my camp a couple years ago, and he told that story. So that's the competition of basketball. That's the fun part. And there's no animosity towards us, being on the same team and him going on to play in the NBA and I'm not. So I'm just happy for everything he's done. And I heard he's playing in China. He's going to China this year. So hopefully he can really get that going over there and get back to like what he was playing like in college.
Talor Battle, Bishop Maginn graduate, playing overseas now, one of the best players ever in Penn State history. With us, Brady Farkas, Zach Pye, in for Roger on Big Board Sports. And Zach and Talor, I throw the questions out to both of you because one of the guys that a lot of people wanted to see on your list or on a list, but maybe now he's kind of got the list of maybe the best player ever to come out of the Capital Region that never accomplished what he was supposed to, and that's Tiki Mabin out of Troy. And I never actually saw Tiki Mabin play, in full disclosure. I never
missed out, man. He was special.
I never saw him play until the NCAA tournament, Binghamton against Duke. That was the first time I really ever saw him play. How good is Tiki Mabin? Does he belong on this list if the extracurricular stuff wasn't attached?
Well, let me start on this one. First of all, for me, and I love Tiki. I've always had a good relationship with Tiki. He was my teammate with the Albany Legends. Always treated me with a bunch of respect. Didn't have a bad instance with him personally. He was one of the most talented guys I've ever seen, and the sky was the limit. But to be on my list when you're splitting hairs like that, there's too many guys that had great careers to not put those guys on that list. And that's not any slight at Tiki, because we could have this conversation with him, and I hope to someday bring him in here. But that's just where I stood on it.
Talor, how good is Tiki Mabin?
Tiki, I still tell stories to this day that, I remember playing AAU. I was 15 and I would play with the 17s. And I remember we had a game down in Texas. I think we scored 44 points in the game, and I know he scored 38 of them and probably assisted on the other 3 field goals. So I've seen him do some special things. And talent-wise, he's one of the best players, obviously, to come out of here. But like Zach said, if you're going to break it down where you're pulling hairs and there's so many good players, I'm going to go off the college career, everything based. Tiki knows I've been playing with Tiki. He's a great person, but it's like I said, it's so opinionated. There's some great players who are going to get left off. So you can't really, pick 10. You got 5. So that's how I see it.
You talk about court vision. Tiki Mabin would hit you in the head with the basketball. Like he knew what you were going to do before you did it. Let me talk about an instance that you and I had on the court together. All right.
We're going to talk about mine and Taylor's moment on the court together.
And you can't see Talor right now, but he's getting hyped up. And I hope it's for the same thing that I'm going to address, because we talked about this before. We were in the Empire State Games, and I think this might have been a game you came even late to. And we were playing Central New York, and they had the 7-footer Jeff Foote, who played at Cornell. This is when Cornell went on that run. Remember, went to the Elite
Kentucky in the Sweet 16, I think they beat.
Yes. And he went on to play in the NBA for the Trailblazers. And Talor's on the wing, jab step. You put it on the floor one time, and you never touched it with your offhand. You brought it up with one hand, dunked it over 7'1" Jeff Foote. He jumped with you. You guys jumped together. You put it on his head for an and one. You told me years ago. Now, this is over 10 years ago, bro. We're getting old. You told me that was the best basketball play you've ever had. Is that still number 1A for you?
It's still the best basketball play. And on the ride over here, I was telling my girlfriend the story. Like, now I hope you can confirm to my little brother. I try to tell him all the time because I still haven't seen the footage. And Lawrence Ekperigin was the other big on that team.
Yes.
He's one of my friends. He plays overseas. And every time I see him, he was in the paint on that play, too. So I always say I got both of you guys.
Well, I gotta, and you have to back me up on this because I have to toot my own horn. If you had the best play of your career, I might have had the best play of my career. Do you remember?
Yeah, you had a dunk in that game.
I jab stepped my defender, Lawrence Ekperigin, was under the hoop, and I went up and threw it on him.
Yeah, the only bad part, we lost the game.
Yeah, I know. Nice, but a couple highlights. We'll take them.
So, Talor, we're getting an update on you. You've been playing overseas for a couple of years now. I know you were playing in France and having a lot of success over there. Where are you at right now in your professional career? And you going back this year? I know you're battling an injury right now.
Yeah, this past season I played in Israel. Mark Lyons was actually over there, and they won the championship.
I saw that.
And but in about, I was the host from about November. I found out that I had a torn labor in my right shoulder. And I played till like January, February. I just couldn't take anymore. And I actually recently just got surgery about a month and a half ago. So I'm just kind of in the recovery process, trying to knock out the physical therapy and get back as soon as I can.
Talor Battle, Penn State star, Capital Region legend. He's on Zach By's starting five.
Absolutely.
He's scored a couple points on me back in the day, but all is forgiven there as well. He's in with us in studio. Brady Farkas, Zach By in for Roger today. Talor, best of luck, congratulations, and thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, best of luck.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You've had a great stretch and continued success, bro.
All right, thank you.